Hello, everyone. Welcome to Girls Got Goals podcast. Excuse me this morning. We're getting started. Marcy's going to be sticking her tongue out at me.
I called it before the countdown. You got busted.
I was going to say, I hope that shows up on the YouTube. We're going,
It's going to show you, but not me.
well, now y'all know it's all Marcy's
I
fault.
threw her off. It's my bad, y'all.
Well, how are you this morning?
I'm good. I got no plans today. So today's going to be I got all my chores, like all my meal prepping and my laundry and my workout and everything done yesterday. So I think we wanted to go for like a walk in the new, I think Chickasaw Park has like new walking trails or something since they refurbished. And I wanted to go for a walk outside, just active recovery, but looks like it might rain. So I don't know if today's going to be a good day to do that or not, but I'm hoping it's going to kind of burn off as the morning goes on. Hopefully once we're done with this, it'll be pretty and sunshining.
Well, I got not all of my chores, but most of them done. And he's washing clothes while I'm finishing in here. So hopefully he'll have.
Good job, Carrie.
I know what little bit of clothes I need done. And then he has a side job at 2:00. So maybe I'll rest and watch TV while he does that.
Just saying, you'll have some me time.
I'm going to have some me time, which I had some last night because he went to the camp yesterday. I wished I had gotten a picture. So, for y'all, I'm not sure where everybody's listening, but, we in the deep south of Alabama rednecks, if our accent didn't give it away. But he went to the hunting camp. Well, my son-in-law and one of Carrie's friends went and picked up these tree stands, shooting houses. That's the word I'm looking for, y'all. He'll kill me. These shooting houses. And girl, they packed them on top of the trailer, one on top of the other. I mean, it was like really high. And I walked out there. I said, oh my gosh. So I told him at work, I said, I wish I would have taken a picture and I could have posted, tell me you're a redneck without telling me you're a redneck. That they rode 2 hours down the interstate with these camouflaged wood tree stands on top of each other, like 10 feet tall, It's like, I was so worried about them driving though, because when they loaded them, they didn't load them very well. And Christian actually, it shifted going down the interstate, coming to our house, and he had to pull over and try to get those back up there. And so they were going to leave Friday night, but they spent so much time trying to strap them down and get them perfect that it got so late. Because I told him, I said, you don't need to be driving in the dark with that. So they left yesterday morning, but I know that, man, my butthole would have been puckered the entire time driving. I don't know.
Reminds me of like the Beverly Hillbillies when the Clampetts like packed all their stuff in that one little vehicle and come to LA. Yeah, that's probably what they look like.
Yes, for sure.
Everybody knew where they were going though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they got some looks. But so today we are on episode 3, and this one is fueling her strength. So we are going to lead into this because Marcy has me on a time frame here.
Our 30-minute episode ended up being an hour and 20 minutes last week. So I was like, we got to reel it in. We like to talk. If y'all couldn't tell, this is our hobby.
We're going to try to keep these short. And I guess I could say if anybody had any questions on what we've said that we didn't elaborate or didn't answer their question, they could always email us. And that email address is
girlgotgoalspodcast@gmail.com. And it's also in the show notes if you forget. So don't worry if you're driving down the road and can't jot it down right now. Look in the show notes.
And we love to hear from you, even if it's not about that. So the first topic today is energy needs for women. So, of course, that is food, and everybody loves food.
Yeah.
You need food. You need, the best thing to hear is you need carbs. Don't be afraid of carbs, folks. So, the minimum is 1,500 calories is suggested to be your calorie intake. Now, of course, that's going to be different for everybody, and that is a whole other episode that we've talked about that before of
Yeah.
how to figure out what your maintenance is. So we're not going to get into that, but and you can MyFitnessPal, other trackers, and see what your goals are going to be. But we've been talking about going to the gym, and regardless of what you're doing in the gym, you need carbs. I mean, even if you're doing the classes, if you're doing cardio, if you are lifting, you're going to need that fuel to lift. So you're going to need your carbs, and you're going to need your protein, because you're not wanting your muscles to break down. Or if your goal is to build muscle, you're going to need that protein in order to build that muscle. Because when we are shooting out, our muscle protein synthesis will shoot up. And so whether you are bulking or building or to burn fat, you're going to want to keep that protein breakdown rate low so that your protein synthesis rates get higher. So you need, and I suck at this, but I'm at work before I go to the gym. So you need to make sure that you eat before you go to the gym. You're going to want to try to eat at least an hour before, so you got time for it to digest, so you can use those carbs and that protein for your workout. I would suggest trying to eat 20 to 40 grams of protein. Keep your carbs to fuel you at a lower glycemic. So things like rice, sweet potato, oats is going to be the better option of a carb to help fuel you. And if you work out in the mornings, you can always do a protein shake. If I work out in the morning, which is rare, but there have been times I've done that, I usually will do the protein shake because it's just not so, if I don't have a whole lot of time for it to digest, I don't want to eat nothing heavy. Although that happens to me sometimes if I get busy at work and it's later when I get to eat. So it's not going to kill you, but just to be more optimal and to feel better. Because sometimes when I go and I've tried to do all of that at one time, it takes forever for that food to settle before I feel like working out. Let's see, what do we have next? Oh, post-workout. Sometimes people ask about that, and that would go with that. So, post-workout, you're wanting to also eat some carbs because your glycemic stores have went down, and they suggest eating between 45 minutes to 60 minutes after a workout is optimal to restore that and to help with your building muscle. I can tell Marcy's wanting to get through this. She is quiet as never been this quiet.
No, I'm looking at the outline, and you skipped to my part. I had protein, carbs, and fats. So I'm sitting here saying, what the hell am I going to say? I was just reframing the whole outline in my mind. I'm just listening. I'm like, okay, yep, covered that.
Well, that isn't, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. You're doing great. Keep going.
I'm doing.
Usually I'm the one running my mouth and you can't get a word in edgewise. So I'm not mad at it.
Oh, Lord. Sorry. So, well, anyway, post-workout, your body will rebuild those glycogen storage. And like I said, the nutrients is going to help faster to not decrease the muscle protein breakdown, increase your muscle protein synthesis, improve your mood. Because I know if I eat after workout, my mood improves.
Anytime I eat, I think my mood improves.
And it's going to enhance your recovery. So, I'm sorry. Anything you want to add to that?
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I can skip back up to the first one. So we hit on, energy needs for women. We hit on what your minimum calories, per day should be. And that's based off your basal metabolic rate. And we, like you said, we have a whole episode about how to calculate that and what your energy needs are. I just really wanted to say that, chronic undereating increases your cortisol, lowers thyroid function, and can disrupt hormone and menstrual cycles. So if you're not eating enough, which is the problem for some people, it's just as bad as eating too much. And so in both scenarios, we really need to reframe our narrative around calories because, calories are simply a unit of measure. 1 calorie is the amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Now, in your mind, when you're thinking about calories, you don't think of the scientific definition. You think of good or bad, my weight's high or low. You're framing this calorie as some kind of demonic entity in your life that's controlling the narrative of your weight. But realistically, it's just a unit of measure to raise a temperature, And so I think if you kind of take the stigma away from it and reframe it in your mind, your body needs fuel. And that fuel is calories. How do you intake calories? You eat food. So there's not necessarily good or bad calories, and we're not going to get into, good and bad foods or whatever, but we just need to understand our caloric needs realistically. And I think eat to fuel our bodies for strength and for health and for longevity. And yes, you can manipulate those calories to hit a goal, whether it's gaining weight or whether it's losing weight, whether it's gaining muscle, whatever your goal is.
Or maintaining.
Right. Like for example, I'm almost 5'7". I weigh 159 pounds and my maintenance calories is right around 1,800. I had to figure that out by trial and error. I had to eat pretty much the same thing every day for a couple of weeks and the same amount of calories to be able to figure out where I sat on that scale, and when I don't demonize food and I don't demonize calories and I start to look at it in this scientific way, it helps me mentally on my fitness journey because I don't have an emotional tie to it at that point. It's data. It's garbage in, garbage out. They teach you that my technology class in college, first time I'd ever heard that term, garbage in, garbage out. If you have junk data going in, you're going to have junk data, junk results coming out. So you need to just be very honest with your weight, very honest with your calories. Everything that goes in your mouth counts. You have to log everything, even if it's your gummy vitamins, even if it's, something you're drinking, your pre-workout, whatever. So just reframe the narrative around calories and understand that they are necessary. And like you said, those calories are broken down into macronutrients, which are proteins, carbs, and fats, which are just, how the calories are broken out.
Yes. I think sometimes we get obsessed, like you said, and I've got a friend like that sometimes, and sometimes I tell her, the more you keep lowering your calories, the worse sometimes it is, because when you feel like crap until your body gets used to that. So then it starts trying to run off of that, and then you have to get lower and lower. So I think us women, sometimes we sabotage ourselves with doing that because we just everything's just always in our face. You got to look like this. You got to do that. You got to lower your weight, calories, till, like you said, we demonize everything and we can't even just stop sometimes and enjoy life. Like you can't enjoy the ice cream because the entire time you're eating it, you're thinking, I don't need to be eating this. And that's not always true. You can enjoy life and not feel guilty. I'm not saying eat ice cream 3 meals a day.
You just have to think about where does that fit in your goals? Where does that treat of ice cream or, cookies or cake or whatever, how does that fit into your daily plan? You just got to plan for it. That's all it is. It's calories, just as if you were eating chicken and broccoli. I'm not saying that eating chicken and broccoli is, less healthy than eating ice cream. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that ice cream is calories. It has macronutrients, and you just have to plug that into your plan and your goal, and you have to plan for it. So it's fueling your body, maybe not better or worse than any other food, but if you've had all your protein for that day, if you haven't had a lot of fats and sugars already that day, then that ice cream may fit, nicely into your plan. It's just something you have to plan for. And you can't just do it on a whim. I think I'm an emotional eater. I eat when I get bored. I eat when I'm sad. I eat when I'm stressed. It's a dopamine thing for me. Being ADHD and autistic, I have low dopamine. So that's something I struggle with. And you could get your dopamine hits by eating or by impulsive activities like shopping, things like that. And so I notice that when I'm at home in the afternoons, if I'm tired, I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, my body wants energy and I should probably take a nap, but sometimes I'll snack, so I have to really like make a plan and stick to it. You have to know your triggers, but you have to plan to fuel your body. You cannot plan to just starve yourself.
Yeah.
And
I can tell a difference when I do that and try to go to the gym.
100%. Yeah.
There is times that I have gotten busy at work and didn't eat my meals and didn't really eat a lot that day. And then I get to the gym and I think I'm going to go in there and have a decent workout. And I'm like, oh my God, this is beating me up,
Yeah.
So it can affect that. And that's life too. And it's sometimes, I was busy. I was working. There's nothing I can do about that. I am in retail. If a customer comes in and I have to wait on them. So, if things like that happen in your life that day, it's a day. Just do a lighter workout, which is what I'll do. I'll choose to switch up my workout. Okay, this can't be a heavy day. I'll go in sometimes thinking, oh, I'm a badass. I'm going to do this anyway. And then halfway through it, in that first set, I'm like, oh, no, hell, you ain't.
Yeah.
You're human and your body's telling you, no, bitch, no, not today. And I'll do some banded work or I might do body weight work. I adjust.
Yeah.
And, just read what your body's telling you to do that day. It's okay. It's one day. And then get back on it. I'll go again the next day and say, okay, maybe I won't get busy today and I'll do better today. It's,
yeah, I can pretty much get through an upper body day fasted. I can pretty much, if I haven't had enough food, whatever, if I'm tired, if I haven't slept well, I can pretty much muddle through an upper body day, but legs are a different story. Legs, I'm going to have 2 meals in. I'm going to have a certain amount of carbs. I've even found that on my heavy leg days, which are Saturdays, I structure that on Saturdays because I don't work, so I can rest, so I can get more recovery, so I can, get 2 meals in and then go and have bigger energy. But I've also learned about myself that my blood sugar starts dropping about halfway through my workout. So I have to take a snack to the gym with me. It has to be like a protein bar or raisins or something to increase that blood sugar, because if I don't, then I can't push any weight. I get shaky. My mouth gets dry. I get nauseous. Like I'm done unless I eat that snack. So now that's happened to me enough times to know my body to where I can be like, okay, I'm going to eat my snack before I can go into my hip thrust, because that's halfway through my workout. And then I can fuel my body for the rest of my workout. That's the most tangible, example I can give personally, is like I crash halfway through if I don't have enough fuel. And that fuel comes in the form of food.
Well, that also brings me to that I had forgot. It's also important to stay hydrated. And you mentioned, getting thirsty. So just make sure that you're staying hydrated throughout the day and throughout your workout. I'll see Carrie go in there. I take 2 bottles of water with me. And 99.9% of the time, I have drank both of those bottles and I'm filling one up for the drive home.
Yeah, I take 3. Jimmy takes 2.
So he has 1. and half the time don't drink all of it. And I'm like, how are you, like, what are you doing? Um, so definitely make sure that you're taking your water. I see some people that don't even have a drink with them.
I would
And I'm
die.
thinking, yeah, me too. But, I think that's because my body has gotten so used to drinking so much that I crave it at the same time too. But it's very important to keep our bodies hydrated when we are exerting, especially if you're doing one of those classes, you're doing a lot of cardio and a lot of,
Yeah.
sweating, and you need to replenish that
Well,
even with some
also,
electrolytes.
yeah, exactly. Not only sweating, but respiration. You lose a lot of fluids through respiration. So you have increased breath, you increase respiration. And like I said, if your blood sugar starts getting lower, which it does when you work out, your insulin starts,
Mm-hmm.
your blood sugar starts dropping. So all of those contribute to like a drier mouth and like loss of fluids. And like I have to take electrolyte pills. I take one in the morning and I take one before I work out. And I have noticed that my mouth doesn't get as dry and I don't have to pee as frequently. So when I start working out, with blood sugar changes and with working your muscles and fluids start moving and everything, if I don't take the electrolytes before I go work out, I pee 4 or 5 times during my workout session. If anybody knows me, they know I pee a lot anyway. But I figured out that's because of electrolytes. So if you drink the water, if you don't have the proper amount of electrolytes, that water is not being absorbed into the cell walls properly. So instead of that water being absorbed and utilized properly in the body, you're just shedding it, So that's a great point that adequate hydration also means adequate electrolytes, minerals. I have trace mineral drops that I put in my water because your water is demineralized through like a filtering process, unless you're drinking spring water. We have a whole episode on water if you want to go into that. But also, the last point I wanted to make in the energy needs for women section is your basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories that your body utilizes at rest. So if you were just to be sick one day and lay in bed and not lift a finger and not do anything but breathe and exist, that is the amount of calories that your body needs to operate daily functions, like your organs. And my basal metabolic rate when I started my fitness journey was 1,300 calories a day. So I needed 1,300 calories a day just to exist. Well, now, 4 or 5 years later, adding, X amount of pounds of muscle, my basal metabolic rate is now 1,500 calories a day. So I have increased my calorie needs by 200 calories per day just by building muscle. So, ladies, that means I can eat 200 calories a day more, and still maintain the same results or get better results. So, your energy needs are a reality. You need to know what they are. It's very important to know your basic needs and the needs for the goal you're trying to make. And it's not a fixed number. It does change based
Mm-hmm.
on where you're at in life, where you're at in your cycle, where you're at as far as muscle building. So very important.
Yes.
And then that can bring us right into cycle based nutrition tweaks because, the way that you eat has big implications for where you're at in your cycle every month.
Yes. So depending on if you are, in your follicular phase, you need higher carbs and energy. I think I would rather stay there. Can I just,
Can I just stay in my follicular phase, please? Like all the time.
I love my carbs. What can I say? Some people talk about going on the carnivore diet, and I love meat too. Don't get me wrong, but I think after a while I'd be like, okay, that I'm over this. I don't know. And I'm not a vegetable person. I wished I was, but so there would be no way. My daddy could just go like places and just get like a vegetable plate, and I'm like,
Yeah.
ew, I need some meat, daddy. But I'm a
Where's the beef?
bacon. Bacon, 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 bacon. Some people might not be old enough for that commercial.
Yeah, I know. I just thought about both of those are like dating us references. Now you know how old we are. As if we haven't said it 1,000 times. Yeah, but
I,
go ahead.
oh, I was just getting off topic. I seen a meme on Facebook the other day where somebody, oh no, it was one of those TikToks and the guy's singing the baloney song and he's spelling out, and
Oh
he
yeah.
sends it over to the daughter and the daughter says, y'all named y'all's baloney?
Oscar Mayer.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh.
I know.
I feel really old.
I know. I'll say something and my kids will look at me like, what is that? And I'm like, seriously? But anyway.
Well, you know what my granddaughter's name is, right? Ellie.
Yeah.
So it might not to anybody else, but when she come to me with Ellie, I'm like, seriously? I mean, I somewhat am over it now, but I'm like, we call her Ellie Mae. And Megan told us the other day, she's like, she's going to think that's her name. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. She's Ellie Mae Clampett. And she.
And I got the shooting houses to prove it.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, she was like, Mama, we don't think about that, people of my age. We didn't come up in that era. And so weeks after she tells me that that's what they're going to name her, she said, Mama, you're never going to guess this. She said, there's another girl at my work and we're not in the same department and she's pregnant. And she came over to me and said, oh, we've decided a name. She said, and we have not discussed the name. And that girl named her child Ellie Mae. Mm-hmm.
And I bet she had probably never even seen Beverly Hillbillies.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh,
Megan said she told Megan that somebody had asked her about that. She said, I didn't know what they were talking about. Have you ever seen that?
That was a childhood staple for me. Like it was one of my favorites. And how we brought up the Beverly Hillbillies twice in one episode and completely unrelated, I'll never know.
Because that was a good show.
Oh God, it was not planned.
I'm going to be great.
Not planned, guys.
I mean, I'm hoping to be just like Granny when I get older.
Oh yeah, she was a spitfire.
So anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Where were we?
So back to the cycle-based nutrition tweaks. I just wanted to say the follicular phase, for those who don't know, is the first phase of your menstrual cycle, and it is lasting about 13 to 14 days. It begins with menstruation and ends with ovulation. So typically once you've started your period, there's about 14 days until you ovulate. So that's the follicular phase. And that is the phase that you can eat the higher carbs, or you probably should eat the higher carbs for energy and glycogen storage. Because your body, I think, it just shed the uterine lining. So it's done a lot of work. You've done a lot of bleeding. It's getting ready, preparing those follicles, to become eggs, to be released with ovulation. So your body is undergoing a lot during that time frame if you're still, cycling and ovulating and all of that. And so I think that's where the higher carbs comes into play, and that your body has more of a need for that kind of thing. And then the next phase is your luteal phase.
Yes. So in that one, you need slightly more protein and magnesium rich foods to combat the cravings and the bloating. Sometimes I think I might stay in that phase, huh? I've been having a lot of cravings. Does that come with menopause too?
Yes. Yeah.
I will say this, folks, not that this is all about, we were talking about food, but you were talking about snacking. I have gotten to the point, and I feel bad because I'll admit Friday was a rough day for me. And I was in the grocery store and I did buy some dip, and I just been staying away from it because I'm not an emotional eater, but I'm a snacker. I'm going to sit down, watch TV. I knew I was going to be by myself that day. I was going to be home. I want to sit down, watch TV and eat. I even want to eat my dinner. Like if we're going to watch a Netflix thing and we fix our food, sometimes Carrie will stand right there while I'm fixing mine and eat his just in 2 seconds. But I guess I have just made it to where I want to savor every moment, and I want to have like the movie ready, and you push play when I start eating. Because if he's trying to find the movie and hasn't found it and I'm done eating my food, I'm pissed. Like, now what am I going to do?
You've
The movie
ruined my
just started.
experience.
Yeah, the movie has already just started and I'm done eating. What am I going to do? I don't know why I feel like I have to eat while I watch TV or watch a movie. It's like going to the movies. I can't just go to the movie and not have popcorn. So if I am where I can't have the popcorn, I just choose not to go to the movie. Because now, one time he did want to go see Top Gun when it first came out a couple years ago, and I was in prep for nationals, and I took my chicken and rice and snuck it in and ate that so that I would have something to eat during the movie. Yeah, that's my weird one. So normally I just try not to buy it, because if it's in the house, fat girl me's going to want to eat it.
Yeah.
And I have to try to eat before I go to the grocery store, or fat girl me's going to buy it and say, oh, I need
Right.
this, I need this.
That's why I
So,
love online shopping, because I just order based off my list and I don't even have those temptations,
yeah.
because I'm the same
Well,
way.
yeah. So that's my only little hack, is I just try not to even buy it, so that when I do start having those cravings, it's not here for
Right.
me.
Right. It's easier to reduce the temptation if it's not within arm's reach.
Then I just pace mad that, smart me went to the grocery store and not fat me.
Right. Right. Me with goals did the shopping. So the luteal phase is the second half. It ends in either pregnancy or menstruation. So it's the half between ovulation and menstruation. And you should focus on foods rich in magnesium, protein, healthy fats, and calcium. So you can look up what those are. We all know what protein is. I think, the healthy fat craze is pretty big right now. So people know that's like fatty fish, olive oil, nuts, seeds, avocados, things like that. Obviously dairy products are high in calcium. Dark leafy greens are high in magnesium and calcium. So are nuts and seeds high in magnesium. So a lot of these are like twofers, like you eat some dark leafy greens and some nuts and seeds and some protein. I'm thinking a great salad, with some avocado, and I like to do fruits and vegetables and avocado instead of dressing. So then I'm not getting any bad seed oils. I'm getting like good fats, and the avocado is like juice, and the fruit juicy enough, tangy enough, sweet enough to give me what would be dressing, but then I'm getting all the micronutrients. We talked about macronutrients, but now we're talking, micronutrients are important too. All the vitamins and minerals that your body needs, that I think sometimes that causes those cravings that we have. You talked about, is that menopause? Yes, because fluctuating hormones causes different vitamin and mineral needs, different fueling needs. And if we're not in tune with those, because like if you have a magnesium deficiency, it can make you crave chocolate. And there's a whole list that you can Google of things. If you're craving this, eat this instead,
Right.
When you're in tune with that and that, it's very empowering, because then you have a choice. It's like, damn, I really want that chocolate bar, but I know I'm probably needing some magnesium right now. So let me drink some magnesium calm, or let me, take some magnesium pills, or let me eat some foods that are rich in magnesium that'll satisfy me better, help me stick to my goals. Because remember, everything's a choice. That's what I'm learning in life, is you got to be consistent with your choices, because your habits build your future. And we just
Yeah.
need,
And go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, we just need to understand our cycles. As women, we're not like men. Men are every day the same, the same, the same, the same, the same. They can go on these rigid plans. They can bang out these disciplined lifestyles, maybe easier than we can, and have better results, because they're not cyclical. Our hormones are cyclical. It's based on a monthly cycle. We rise and we fall. We have different personalities. We have different energy needs, we have different sleep needs, and we just need to be in tune with that as women, that these are all beautiful things that we were created with for a reason. And when we work with them instead of against them, it can be a very beautiful and empowering thing.
Yes. Beautifully said, Marcy.
Oh, thank you. I was just inspired. I wouldn't know my notes or nothing. I just
In the moment.
from the heart, guys, from the heart. All right, our last point, I think we've already really covered it when you were talking about electrolytes and hydration, was hydration
Yes.
and recovery foods. So, we want to make sure that we're fueling pre and post workout, but we also want to make sure that we're fueling our recovery, because that's where, like we talked about last time, that's where all of our gains is in the recovery. So electrolytes during the luteal phase to offset like the water shifts, like we all know with our cycle comes water shifts. See, we can gain or lose 5 pounds as women overnight, just due to fluctuation in hydration. And then we want the omega-3s, which are for inflammation control. So they're very anti-inflammatory, like salmon, chia, flax. There again, our nuts, seeds, healthy fats. And that's also for hormonal imbalance. And that helps with hormone production when you have enough fats in your body, which should be about 25 to 30% of your calories. And as always, protein, protein, protein. I can't say it enough. Prioritize every meal with protein and eat your protein first, because that's going to blunt the absorption of your carbs that Kimberly loves to eat. And it's going to stabilize that blood sugar response. When you do eat the carbohydrates, you're going to stay fuller longer and have a more even blood sugar response if you consume your protein first.
Well, it fills you up too. I don't usually want as much of the carb if I eat all my protein first, because it's so filling.
Satiating, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a win-win. You go for your protein first and you're not going to lose with that. Well, that's all we have for you today, guys. About
short, sweet, and simple. Look, Marcia, we kept
37 minutes. Woo! First time ever. History in the making, guys. So just remember, until next time, progress isn't perfect.
But you are. So keep growing. And until next time.